All right, you were, of course, hearing the finance minister as well as the CBDT chairman on that new website that the government has opened up. And this, of course, to step up the black money chase. Remember, the finance ministry says that it has unearthed undisclosed income to the tune of close to 16,400 crore rupees post demonetization. It has already been 6 months since demonetization was announced on November 8th by the government, and it says that it will make the details of the beneficiaries public through this dedicated website. In fact, Finance Ministry also saying that the taxpayer base has grown significantly post demonetization because of all the efforts that were undertaken by the IT department. To get more reactions on that story, we're now joined by Ashwin Parekh as well as Mukesh Butani on the phone line. Many thanks for speaking to us at ET now. Mr. Parekh, let me come to you first. What do you believe, on the numbers that the government is giving out? They believe that the black money crackdown has been rather successful, and this is, of course, going to encourage the tax compliant people. Your first thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I must say that 16,400 crores is certainly a very good number, very impressive. Two things it does. I mean, it does increase the number of taxpayers, which is what we just heard the CBDT chairman say. But more significantly, this is an annual income now for the government, to the extent that those who disclose their income, will continue to file their tax returns, and therefore they'll continue to pay tax. So in some form, they've been brought under the tax net. Somehow, however, when we look at the numbers in comparison with some broad estimates of the black money that we have in the economy, 16,400 doesn't look like a very big percentage. So, I mean, the way I would look at it is a very good measure, demonetization, and a good impact. But at the same time, I think a lot more will have to be done.
Right, very important point raised there. But Mr. Bhutani, what do you believe? Mr. Parekh believe that much more needs to be done. This is just, a very small amount as compared to the big promises that the government had made before demonetization had started. Do you believe going forward the government will be able to bring more people under the tax net?
Well, I think you need to, give a holistic look to the post demonetization impact insofar as trends in tax collections are concerned. So I think various things are happening at the same time. It's not just about more taxpayers getting added, but I think it's a fundamental shift in the thinking and the ecosystem of taxpayers as regards being more compliant. So you cannot simply measure it in quarterly trends of tax collection. So I think 2-3 things are happening at the same time. Number one, besides more taxpayers getting added, you are having a more compliant set of citizens. Two, more importantly, we also need to see the impact of GST, because GST itself will bring in a whole new set of taxpayers which are otherwise hidden, or ghost taxpayers as we call it. So in a way, demonetization was planned as a precursor to the introduction of GST. And then the government has a fairly onerous task to be able to look into investigations of suspicious bank accounts. And added to that would be the heightened surveillance machinery of the Department of Revenue working by way of carrying out surveys, searches in suspicious cases, so on and so forth. So I think you need to add up all of these aspects, and I think the effects of these, will be seen in the medium to long term than any sort of measurement that you can look at it on a quarter-to-quarter basis. So I think what the government seems to be doing, and as was indicated in the press release that was done by the finance minister and the CBDT chairman, was to release some kind of a status update report that this has been the impact of demonetization insofar as the tax revenues are concerned. But clearly, this is all work in progress, and I hope that the trend continues in the manner in which it has been set out. But I think these are some of the updates and benefits, if I may say so, post-demonetization, which is getting reflected in the press release.
Mr. Mr. Butani and Mr. Parekh, stay on with us. We're also joined by Satya Podar. Mr. Podar, many thanks for speaking to us at ET. Now, if I should give you some numbers, the government says they've been able to get undisclosed income close to 16,000 crore rupees. 1 lakh high-risk depositors have been found post-demonetization, and there's a 22% rise in the e-filing of returns. How, once, you look at these numbers, is it safe to say that the government's demonetization drive was a successful one?
Yes and no. It was a successful one, but you cannot measure success by these interim indicators because the process of uncovering fake transactions, deposits, that is continuing, and it will take a while before those illegal deposits or fictitious deposits are fully investigated. They'll take time. More importantly, definitely the demonetization has had a dramatic impact on the psychic of the people. If they were prepared to indulge in unreported activities before, now they have to think twice. Indications I have from anecdotal discussions here and there are that clearly during the demonetization period, there is significant curtailment of activities which were not reported for tax purposes, but soon after demonetization, many of the dealers have gone back to the same old habits. The cash transactions are flourishing again in certain sectors. And I think that was to be somewhat unexpected, because I expected that those dealers will think twice before they engage in cash activities. But as of now, that may not have happened. But still, I still call it a demonetization, a successful effort. It was needed, and it was clearly a warning to the taxpayers, and I'm sure that the government will continue to pursue those initiatives to bring more transparency and better compliance in the tax system.
Mr. Podar believes it's going to be a mixed bag. It was successful. The one way to look at it that it was successful, but still a lot needs to be done. Mr. Butani, what do you believe? What are the kind of measures that the government should look at doing apart from continuing with its efforts to widen the tax base through this portal? What else should be on cards as far as the government is concerned?
Well, I think there is, you can't really point a finger at A measure or B measure that it should be doing. As I mentioned, it's a continuing exercise. I think the portal seems to me to be acting as a enabler or facilitator for the government to widen its tax base and achieve greater degree of compliance insofar as taxpayers are concerned. I know for a fact that the tax compliances for small and medium taxpayers, particularly salary taxpayers, has been simplified. I think as a part of the risk assessment process, the administrative machinery that is doing the assessments and the audits will be largely focused on more taxpayers. I'm a little surprised to see that the large taxpayer unit, which has been largely a failure, has not picked up, because there has to be an element of focus that the government needs to have towards large taxpayers. So the scheme is in operation, but it's not been working as effectively as it was thought of. The large taxpayer initiative was more a kind of a horizontal monitoring system where the government and the large taxpayers develop a healthy relationship which will facilitate not just compliances but also completion of audits and assessments. There is a lot that the government needs to do insofar as the tax department's machinery for addressing disputes is concerned, whether that's got to do with the pace at which the commissioner appeals,
right,
the dispute resolution panel adjudicates a matter, or it's got to do with the government taking decisions judiciously as regards filing further appeal against the taxpayers should the taxpayer get a positive order at the first appellate level. So I think there are several things that are there on
Absolutely.
government's plate.
Absolutely, Mr. Butani. That's a Right, Mr. Bhutani, that's a very valid point. There are several things on the government's plate. In fact, as you very rightly pointed out, the voluntary disclosure window also that the government had to catch hold of these high value depositors, even that did not see much traction, so to say. But gentlemen, stay on with us. We're also joined by my colleague Adrija Chatterjee, who was present there during the press conference of the government. Adrija, take it across. What were, the key things that the finance minister spoke about, and in the government's view, how are the numbers faring as far as the drive? Okay, I think we've just lost that line. But Mr. Parekh, let me come to you. Help us understand the post-demonetization. We have not seen much traction as far as digital transactions are concerned. Do you believe that is, a big negative on the report, or red on the report card, as far as the government is concerned?
No, true. I mean, see, there are two parts to this. I mean, one thing is certain, that demonetization has really given the nation a substantial amount of digital record. The trail is available, the deposit details are available, the banking systems that were used by deposit holders to put cash into the system is all available with the nation, with the government. Now, the department has to use it, and I suppose more importantly, the trail has to be utilized, in really looking at those large-size taxpayers who've been avoiding tax. That's one part of it. The second important part that I thought, which should now follow. We started with one measure. The underlying is not measures, the underlying is digitalization. If we continue, I mean, and as Mukesh said, if GST is going to be, which is totally technology-driven kind of an environment, more and more of digital data is now available to the government, to the revenue departments and various parts of the government to really run after those who have income or wealth, but who do not contribute, in terms of tax. So I would say the larger theme, more than the programs, is I suppose, digitalization and a huge digital record available with the nation.
Right. Mr. Parekh, stay on with us. Let me also go across to my colleague. Okay, I think we've lost Adrija's line once again. But Mr. Parekh, if I may come to you, as far as the enforcement action is concerned, do you believe that is going to be a deterrent of sorts for more people to come in and at least declare their high-value deposits that now are under the lens of the IT department?
No, so I mean, basically what is being talked about is the behavioral aspect. And I mean, both Satya and Mukesh talked about this. I suppose the fear, if it is instilled, then to that extent enforcement becomes more effective. I suppose it's the issue of behavior. Now, once again, when we look at, let's say, the cash transactions in the economy, when we started the whole program, we thought that there will be a larger use of digital in the economy. But